All right, everyone, welcome back to another Star Wars Galaxy of Heroes video with Fat Phil, and today we're going to be talking about whether or not you should be rushing Jedi Knight Cal. The news dropped yesterday that the event will be returning on the 20th of March. That's the 20th of this month, so 13 days from now, and it will last until the 27th, which is now, looking at that, it is 20 days. So less than 3 weeks for us to be able to get Jedi Knight Cal. So the million dollar question is, should you be rushing to get Cal right now? Is this a big push that you need to be making in your account to be able to obtain this character? Because realistically, this is the last time we'll be able to get him before he goes to the Journey Guide permanently, which if we use Grand Inquisitor as a baseline, we're looking at about 3 to 4 months for Jedi Knight Cal to be permanently farmable. So with all that said, guys, we're going to get in here. We'll talk about it. I want to give the brief moment. Again, guys, channel members, I apologize. I've really been letting you down with these. I haven't got my cards updated. I promise I'm going to be working on it. I need your guys' patience. You all are amazing. Thank you so much. If you are not part of the channel, make sure you at least subscribe. I'm just asking you guys to subscribe, like this video. Let me know your thoughts. So here's kind of the situation with Cal, right? Again, like I said, it's going to be about 3 to 4 months after this event that he will permanently hit the Journey Guide, and that's just basing off of characters like Grand Inquisitor, who kind of came in and had this brief period of time where he was, the event was back, and then kind of 3-4 more months after that permanently hit the Journey Guide. So that's kind of how I'm viewing Jedi Knight Cal and where I'm aiming for. Now, myself, I will tell you that I am going all in on Jedi Knight Cal. Like, I will make sure that I get him in time, because I have Marin done, I've got Seer, and I've got Cal done, and I have the gear for Saw, I have the gear for Tarful, and I even have the gear for Jedi Knight Cal himself. I went and checked that out. So, I'm just short on Tarful shards, which I need 36 more in the next 20 days, so not even 2 shards a day. I was able to buy 16 Tarful shards in shipments last night for 80 crystals. I might not have needed them, but I have the bonus crystals to do it, and I'd rather be safe than sorry. And the other side of me says, I want to get Cal, like my fear being the 20th will be like GAC lock-in day. And so if I could have him for an extra week or something, I'd love that. I didn't check the calendar to be like, oh, is that actually going to happen? I have no idea. But I'd like to get Cal earlier in that cycle so I have a little bit of wiggle room. But we're now at 36, again, 2 shards. So I'm rushing. Here's the thing. I'm doing three kind of, or 15 attempts of Tarful, if you will. I was talking with the Egnards last night. I was like, oh, I'm doing 3 refreshes. And he goes, oh, you're spending the 100? I'm like, oh, well, I count that first one. So I'm doing 15 attempts of Tarful right now. If you do that, you're going to spend 75 extra crystals in refreshes, because it's 25 the first time, 50 the second time. Well, as I told you guys, that's 75 crystals. If you get 1 shard from those attempts, just 1 from those extra 10 attempts that you purchased, if you get 1 shard, you've saved 5 crystals compared to what you would have purchased via the shipments. So if you can get a shard every 5 attempts, you're crushing it in terms of saving yourself crystals. And I think that could be very well worth it for somebody like Tarful or any of these other characters who you don't have finished yet. The reason I think it's going to be important to rush Jedi Knight Cal isn't because I think he's very good. Don't get me wrong. I think he's very, very good. I think people have been proving that. But it's because of the timing of what 3 to 4 months means. That in 3 to 4 months, we're more than likely going to be getting Queen Amidala out of Conquest. That her Conquest cycle will probably end in 3 to 4 months. So now you have to gear Cal. Now you've got to gear Queen Amidala and Zetas. And if you're doing that as someone who hoards their gear and Zetas a lot, it can be detrimental. So for example, I've had 60 Zetas saved for Jedi Knight Cal for the longest time. Right? Like ever since I started thinking, okay, I need to, like, I've been saving these Zetas, I've been saving this gear. And the reason I'm saving it is because when I unlock him, I want to be able to utilize him. But if I'd have gotten Cal, just for the sake of argument, if I could, in a perfect, hindsight 2020, if I could have gotten Cal, the time before, well, now all those resources that I'd been saving this entire time, can go directly into him and I'm getting benefit out of them. Whereas when you're just kind of saving them for something, they're offering you no benefit. You just have these things that could make your account better, but because they need to go to a specific character, they're not helping you. Now, that's just the dark side to hoarding. I still think that can be better than you get Cal Kestis and you have no way to gear him, no Zetas, no mods. Like, that's bad, right? But there is a dark side to that, which is why I'm trying to rush to get him, because I know that in 3 to 4 months' time, I don't want to be worrying about Cal and his mods and his, I want to be worried about Queen Amidala and this new raid coming. So I think if you're a player where you're kind of in this position where it's going to be close to getting Jedi Knight Cal Kestis, I would go all in if you can. That means buying any extra shards you can out of the shipments. Make sure you're in a good gear. At least, bare minimum, make sure that you have the gear to unlock him. Even if he's going to be level 1, gear 1 for a little bit, as long as you have that, hey, I'm going to gear up Cal, and then I have a couple months to prepare for, I have a month or two to prepare for Queen Amidala and Naboo raid coming, I think that's fine. But I don't think you're going to want to go through the next couple of months with this gear saved for Cal, because it's going to get harder to equip that to him when the new raid requirements drop. And he's a character who is extremely important and I think will greatly impact your guild, not only because of being able to get to, from the Baraka special mission down to Zepho, but he's also not in operations. And this is something that I don't know people often talk about a lot, but when you go to, guild events, right, you go to your territory battles. When you go to, say, any kind of operations here, and I'm just in Relic 8 zone, but you look where's Jedi Master Luke, General Kenobi, all these different characters. But notice that Jedi Knight Cal is not one of them. So by giving yourself a Jedi Knight Cal Kestis, who happens to be very good in territory battles, but by getting Jedi Knight Cal Kestis, that's another Jedi that you could use in operations. That, hey, I can now give up my, Jedi Knight Luke, for example. He's not in any of these, but I can give up my Jedi Knight Luke knowing that I've got Jedi Knight Cal Kestis in my back pocket. That's kind of the whole concept here that I think makes a lot of sense, is that these operations, because they don't require guys like Cal Kestis, but they do require guys like Jedi Knight Luke, it's so much easier on your guild that I can give that up knowing I've got Cal Kestis in my back pocket. So I would encourage you for that reason as well to go after these characters like Cal while they're still hot, because I guarantee you in that 3 to 4 month time frame, your guild could really benefit from it. And then they're going to be like, hey, we need people to start working on the new Naboo raid and Queen Amidala. And you're like, oh, well, I'm saving for Cal. And it turns into a mess. And so I think if you're anywhere close, and that's within, I would argue in the next 20 days, if you're within 100 shards of total, right? I'd say total 100 shards, because if you're 100 shards from Tarful and 100 from Saw, it's a little bit more unrealistic. But if you're 100 shards total, I would be scanning the shipments for anything you can. I'd be doing those refreshes, because I think by the time that he comes back around, it's going to be that much harder to invest that gear and resources into him with the changing of the game. And I think he's a very impactful character that's worth it. So I would do it while you don't have an excuse not to. I don't know if that makes sense. I kind of been rambling a little bit, but I'm really passionate about this, because as someone who has missed out on these characters in this time setting before, think of Dr. Aphra. I still don't have Dr. Aphra because I can't find an excuse to gear her. Now, I think Cal's better than Aphra, but that's a topic for another day. But, I've had these Zetas and materials just sitting around waiting to get used. And now that I can do this, it not only means, hey, I can get Jedi Knight Cal Kestis, but now I can go get Cara Dune, because I've wanted to gear her up. I'm going to gear up Saw Gerrera, kind of get ready for that Kashyyyk special mission. That's something I wanted to do. And then finally, we'll be able to focus on Queen Amidala, get ourselves in order for that coming Naboo raid. So that's the end of the video, guys. Let me know your thoughts. Again, subscribe, comment. I love you all. May the Force be with you. And if you're still watching right now, Wampa is king in the comments. May the Force be with you all. Cheers, guys.